Hey everybody, my name is Kevin Jones. Welcome to the Goddamn Mountain Goat video series here on YouTube. Glad to have you here. This is yet another edition on how to make you a bow hunter. I was going to say better bow hunter, but maybe if you're watching this, you've never hunted before. Maybe you've never bow hunted, or any of the above. Welcome. If you are a long-time viewer of, I guess, 3 videos before this, thanks for coming back. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. I release these about, right now it's about a couple times a week to get us going. And then I'm going to be looking to release a video every week to continue to build on this. There's a lot more to know besides gear with just archery. There's a lot more that goes into it because once you have the bow set up, there's a lot more that is between you starting out with a good bow and you filling your freezer with high quality free range protein that you would be arrowing out there in the field. So hit the subscribe button. That way it'll save you the time if you'd be so kind. So this episode we are going to be talking about another component of the archery tackle. This is going to be an episode all about releases. So you might be asking yourself, what the heck's a release? I have no idea what a release is, and that's okay. You are going to be a release expert after this video is finished. So to start off, we're going to talk about the different kinds of releases, and in order to do that, you have to know what a release is. So here we go. So a release is a mechanism or a tool perhaps that will allow you to effectively release an arrow from your bow. It's not all done with fingers. You know, like maybe you've watched, I don't know, like Lord of the Rings or something like that, or Robin Hood, where they run around just releasing with just their fingers. They'll rack an arrow in and they'll draw back and they'll just release it with their fingers. You can do that. There's a lot more effective tools since Robin Hood was flinging his arrows with his merry men. So we're going to cover the different types, and that way you can make an informed decision moving forward. So some of the releases that are common with longbows and not compound bows are things like finger tabs and shooting gloves. So what those let you do is essentially, I'm actually wearing one, I'm kind of fidgeting with it right now, I had to put this on. So this is what's called a shooting glove. So to demonstrate, I guess just use an arrow here. So you have your string, right? You carry it around your bow and you see something. This allows you to grab onto the string and draw back and then let go, and it actually protects your fingers. So shooting gloves have like it's all leather. It's all leather. This was actually my grandfather's. Found this in the attic at my dad's house. Shout out to Dad. So this lets you pull back that string and then let go. If you do it a lot, it will rub your fingers raw if you don't have a shooting glove for your use there. So again, these are things that are of use with longbows, which you won't be advised to get as a beginning bow hunter. Go ahead and watch. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you have no idea what kind of bow you should get, episode 1, step 1, I guess. Another one is what's called a finger tab, which is essentially the same thing. Instead of the glove, you have a finger tab. A finger tab is quite literally a tab, a little piece of leather that's cut out. And what you do is you slip your finger in there, and it just is, all of these are ways to protect your fingers from, removing your fingerprints. So same thing. You reach up, you grab your string of your longbow, you pull back, and you release. And it's just a way to protect your fingers. So that's a little history with releases. So since then, since the days of the finger tabs and the shooting gloves, there's been a lot of advancements, ways to make your shot more accurate and make that arrow fly straighter to the target that you actually want to hit. So for our purposes, that was just a little history lesson for you, make you a better, well-rounded bow hunter. So for our purposes, we are going to be using what is called an index finger release, which are these guys. Or gals. I'm gonna assume they're all men. So these things. You might be asking yourself, what in the heck are those? They all look a little bit different. Some of them look the same. So, for an example, what you do with these is, so on your bow, once you get it, or maybe you already have it, you might see what's called a D-loop. A D-loop, conveniently I actually have my bow here this time. Your D-loop, so here's your bow, right? You got your bow. Your D-loop is this guy right here. It's connected to the string. If you don't have one, you're going to have to probably take it into an archery shop and get a D-loop on it. This little guy, right? You'll notice that it's right along where you're going to be putting your arrow, which will be important to know here in a moment. So, D-loop's important for a variety of reasons, one of which it is what you connect your release to. So I just wanted to point out what the D-loop is. So your release, I'll get back to this. So long story short with releases is a release is, it connects to the string via your D-loop, and it basically has, and this one has two moving jaws that kind of, let me get my head out of the way, that open and close when you pull the trigger, right? So this is a trigger, just like a rifle. You can think of it the same way. When you pull the trigger on a rifle, the gun goes off, sends the bullet downrange. You can assume, or I guess for our sake here, we're going to use that same thing and say, when you connect your release to your D-loop and you draw your bow back, you're obviously not going to want to touch this release until you're well drawn back, until you're ready to fire, just like a rifle. You're not going to want to walk around with your finger on the trigger at full draw with your bow. So you're going to take your release, you're going to connect it to your D-loop, and then once you're ready to shoot, you see that big buck, and he's walking into range, and he's at 20 yards, broadside shot, your arrows, everything's ready. You know, you've put them in your sight. You just reach up and you pull ever so slightly, and you can see it opens up those jaws. And what that does in action, and all this thing is, these all come in buckles or straps. So what you do is you slip your hand through here and you grab this and have it pointed down underneath your hand. There's your hand, right? Straight down. And then you just grab this strap and you cinch it up to whatever your preference is. And it has a little buckle here. Since I have small female-sized hands, I have a lot of slack. And then what you do is you take this and you loop it over, and then you'll see right here it has a little clip, and you slide the excess, maybe a big pause, I don't. You slide the excess into there, and it stays snug, right? So now this thing's free to dangle. It can't fall off as long as you put it on right, which it's good to have these releases, these index finger. I'll give you a clue on why they call it an index finger release. It's good to have these so that way you can do other things with your hands, right? You can completely let go of this, grab your binoculars, be looking around. You could be eating a snack, drinking some water, whatever. And this thing's never going to go anywhere. You can not touch this all day until the moment you need it. And then all you got to do is tuck your hand down and grab it, and then bring it up and attach it to your D-loop. So, in action, I will demonstrate. So again, you got your D-loop right here, right? I will show you, because I'm actually prepared this time. Look at this. So you have your arrow, right? You connect your arrow inside your little D-loop, right? So there's your D-loop right there that we've been chatting about. Take your knock of your arrow, and I don't know if you could hear that. I'm going to try to do this again. You just go, makes a little snap, right? You put it down. We haven't quite talked about your rest yet, but we will, right? So this thing's ready to go, right? So I'm ready. I see that big old buck, and I have to grab my release, my index finger release. I've just got done taking a drink of water. I reach down. I say, oh my goodness. And I have my D-loop, and I have my release, and then you have to open this one. Some of them stay open, not this particular model. And all you do is you connect it to your D-loop, right? So as you'll see right now, it is holding on for dear life. It's like a little shark, right? A little pit bull. It's not letting go. The only time this thing lets go is when you pull that trigger, just like a rifle. Your rifle's not going to fire off by itself. You leave it in a corner, loaded, cocked. I would not recommend that. Same thing with these. If everything's set up correctly, and as it should be, this thing is not going to be letting go, right? I'm pulling pretty good, and it's not letting go. So what you do then, I'm not going to do it right now because I have a terrible fear of dry firing my bow, which would essentially break it, which I don't want to do. Is you grab this and you make sure your finger is not by the trigger, right? So there's the trigger, and what you do when you're ready is you pull back, and then you get it set up in your sight, and you're all ready to go. And then once you're ready, all you got to do is reach up. Watch how quick this happens, and then it's gone. Your arrow's flying downrange. Okay. So I will do it again. I'm going to get my arrow knocked. All right. I'm going to set my jaws open, and I'm going to grab that D loop. All right. And again, it's not going anywhere. And then you draw back, full draw, and then all you do is once you're ready, right, you reach up with that finger, and you just barely touch the trigger, and it'll snap right off. It'll launch that arrow straight downrange. So that is important part of your archery tackle. Now, just to kind of drive this on home, so this is one model, right? This is one model of an archery release. This one's a True Fire Hurricane is what this one is. I've had this one. Where's my other one? Here's my old one, right? And as you can see, I have really worn this thing a lot, right? This thing is flappy flippy, right? So this is another True Fire. It's the same thing. It's a little bit different. I'll show you the differences, so that way you can, I guess, make an informed decision. I recommend for you, there's a lot of preference out there. You might talk to me and I say, get one with the 2 moving jaws, right? You got open and close. So that way you hold on. This one, as you can see, only has 1 moving jaw, right? Watch. You open this up and only this thing moves. The other piece stands there, or stays there, right? Maybe use this a little bit easier. I have more high-tech technology here. It's a charging cable. So here's your D-loop, and you go up and you grab it, right? And it's holding onto it like that. And then this one, it just drops that one of these jaws, and then it just stays there with the other, right? It's another option. I'm all about making you an informed buyer when you go to purchase your release. Another one, it's kind of a weird change in models. This one is also by True Fire. This one's called, I got this one honestly because I read some reviews that said it was good, but then also I really like the name. This one's the Chicken Wing. All right, so this one, as you'll notice, is a little bit different, right? This one just has this, right? And you pull this trigger, and what it does is it allows this thing to release off, right? The way this works, when instead of having the two jaws or the 1 jaw, this one's kind of a 1 jaw, but not really that either. So this one, you just connect to your bow, to your D loop, right? We're just going to pretend this blue cord is just the D loop on your bow. Connect like that, right? So you draw back, you're ready to shoot that big old deer, and you slowly squeeze this, and I'll show you this one a little bit slower. So you squeeze this, and it slowly lets this off, right? I'll show you again. It slowly just snaps that thing off, and then it launches your arrow downrange. And of course, you're going to have a sighted-in bow, and you're going to hit exactly what you're shooting at. So those are just a couple different choices for your release. Because I always want to make sure you guys know exactly what this is all going to cost you. You can find some, again, Craigslist. There's a lot of stuff on Craigslist. Maybe people that are trying to sell, upgrade their release. If you were going to buy some of these new, your costs will range for release. I just looked. You're looking at maybe $20 for a good cheap entry-level model, all the way up to $100, $150 for an upgraded model. I think the Hurricane, this one was about $50, $60, somewhere in there. The Chicken Wing was more. I think the Chicken Wing was like 110, 120. They all do something a little bit different. Some of them, it all depends on the models. Again, get something with good reviews. Do some homework. You're noticing a trend here. I like homework, especially when it makes you a more informed bow hunter. Find a release that has good reviews. Go for a 2 jaw is what I'd probably recommend. I would not recommend getting something like the Chicken Wing right out of the gate. Again, you might not find the use in it. You might find that you prefer a 2 jaw or even a single jaw. So I I would probably go for that. It's important to have these part of your archery tackle as they make your shots more accurate. The idea is that when you used to have to hunt with longbows, you have things like finger gloves, finger tabs, stuff like that. You have 3 things that are touching the string, right? So here's your 3 fingers, and maybe this one releases a little bit early, and that one second. So there's a lot of variables, and if your string's shooting down range and it's off a little bit because you released a little, so it could affect the accuracy of the shot. Not necessarily close range, but it could. But further down range at 40, 50 yards. So practice makes perfect with these kind of things. Get something with a 2-jaw, right? Your 2-jaw. Make sure you have a D-loop on your bow string. And all these things will make your shots more accurate, close and far range. And it's important to have because it's a good tool. So I think I covered that pretty good. Archery releases. And should you have any questions about this kind of stuff, you can always drop me a line on my Facebook page. It's under Goddamn Mountain Goat, or on Instagram as well, or shoot me an email, or all that stuff's out there. And pretty easy to get a hold of should you need help. I am far from being a archery professional, or I don't own a bow shop. I'm not hand building these things or anything like that. I'm just a guy who kind of knows what works, and I'm just giving you a couple pieces of information to move forward and become a better bow hunter. So again, hit the subscribe button if you can. I drop these things every week. Every week you will be getting something else. So with that being said, again, my name is Kevin Jones, and this is the Goddamn Mountain Goat video series here on YouTube. Hopefully you learned a little something tonight, and I look forward to chatting with you on the next episode where we dive into something else. Thanks.